Scuffles in Mongkok over verbal abuse at police by teacher. Paul Chan slightly injured in a traffic accident. And Western embassies shut down around the Middle East because of a security threat.
Good evening. A heated online debate spilled over onto Mongkok's streets today. Scuffles erupted between supporters and opponents of a primary school teacher who last month was filmed shouting abuse at police. Jan De Silva reports.
A section of Sai Yeung Choi Street in busy Mongkok had to be sealed off by police as several groups clashed over a viral internet video. In the video, primary school teacher Alpas Lam was filmed when standing up for a group of Falun Gong members. She was seen yelling insults at the police for not doing enough about a group that was interfering with a Falun Gong protest on the street. The video polarized opinions online in the following weeks, with some netizens speaking out in defense of the teacher, who has since issued an apology to the school, parents and students for her inappropriate choice of words. Others say that police should be able to do their job without being subject to abuse, and criticize the teacher for using foul language. Organised by the Federation of Parent-Teacher Associations in Hong Kong Action, today's rally was supposed to be a show of support for the police officers. The Assistant District Commander of Sham Shui Po, Lau Tat Keung, who's now on pre-retirement leave, also showed up at the rally today. He said he wants people to know the police aren't weak. The organisers, meanwhile, said they are not against the teacher. They simply want her to be able to control her emotions. But other groups flocked to the scene in support of the teacher. Scuffles soon erupted between the two factions, with a protester being taken away by police for allegedly attempting to steal an officer's revolver.
The police must have the authority to put law and order. Well, I think as a teacher, using four-letter words in public place, to me, as a lecturer, I will not do it. As a lecturer, I will not do it.
We just want to protect her freedom of speech. We just want to let her know we supporting her.
Rising tensions between groups present here in this central Mongkok street forced businesses to close down on a usually busy Sunday afternoon.
Organisers eventually decided to cut short the rally to avoid further disturbances. Juan De Silva, TVB News.
Secretary for Development Paul Chan was injured in a traffic accident in Wan Chai this afternoon. His injury was said not to be serious, but he remains under observation at Queen Mary Hospital. Police say Chan was behind the wheel at the time and he passed a breathalyzer test. Evelina Lung reports.
Paul Chan was taken away in an ambulance after the crash. He didn't answer any questions. Chan was taken to Ratonji Hospital before being transferred to Queen Mary Hospital for treatment. During a telephone interview, Chan's wife said the development chief is feeling fine, but doctors said he should remain under observation in the hospital. According to the police, Chan was driving a 7-seater van along the Canal Road flyover at around 11:30 this morning when it collided with a taxi. Police say Chan passed the breathalyzer test. Secretary for Food and Health Ko Ing-man paid Chan a visit at the hospital in the afternoon.
Secretary Paul Chan has sustained what we called a whiplash injury to the neck. I understand that he does not have any signs and symptoms pertaining to neurological injury. Right now he feels severe pain around his neck.
However, Ko failed to say whether Chan would need to take time off work or when he will be discharged from the hospital. Evelina Lang, TVB News.
Democratic Party member Law Chi-kwang, who was invited to a dinner meeting with the chief executive last Monday, says Leung Chun-ying reacted positively to views expressed by different guests on political reform. Regarding the 2017 chief executive election, Law says the public will only accept its legitimacy if no particular segments of society will be ruled out from the possibility of being elected. Evelina Lang again.
More than 20 people, including politicians and scholars, were invited to dinner by Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying last Monday. Among them, Democratic Party member and chairman of the Community Care Fund, Law Chi-kwong. During an interview with TVB News Today, Law said political reform was discussed during the dinner meeting.
There are interactions, and I definitely felt that he is listening. And although because this is an informal event, and they don't express very explicit wills, but definitely they are not rejecting any ideas like setting up a consultative meeting or consultative committee or steering committee.
Law stressed the principles of non-exclusiveness and legitimacy in the political reform concerning the 2017 chief executive election.
It has to receive certain level of legitimacy. That is, the people in Hong Kong in general consider that it's a genuine election and they have a genuine choice, which also means that there would not be any particular construction whereby some segment of our society will be ruled out from the possibility of being elected.
He said if Hong Kong still didn't have universal suffrage by 2017, the government would continue to have a difficult time ruling the territory. On the embattled Secretary for Development, Paul Chan, Law said if an official's trustworthiness is being doubted, then replacing the official with someone else is a good option. Meanwhile, another Democratic Party member who attended Monday's dinner meeting, Chen Man-kwong, said a universal suffrage consultative committee needs to be set up to pave way for political reform. He stressed that the committee has to be independent.
If it is an independent committee, I think the public will express their will, their different will, and they will think that this committee will collect their will directly to the government. I think it's very important for the people of Hong Kong to have confidence to this committee.
Evelina Lang, TVB News.
Turning overseas now, many US and European embassies around the Middle East remain closed because of fears about a potential terrorist attack in the region. Washington claims to have intercepted messages by al-Qaeda agents talking about a plot on a Western diplomatic compound. Security has been tightened at US and European embassies across the Middle East, which are closed for the time being. That's because Washington believes the threat of an attack by the al-Qaeda terror group on diplomatic compounds in the region is a real and present danger. On Friday, the US issued a worldwide travel alert warning Americans that militants could be planning attacks this month, especially in places like the Middle East and North Africa. America's allies have issued similar warnings to its citizens, including the UK, which urged Britons to leave Yemen and avoid travelling to the country at this moment in time. Britain's embassy in Yemen is closed and all non-essential staff have been sent home. Germany and France have taken similar precautions. Last night, US President Barack Obama's top officials, including Secretary of State John Kerry and Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel, met at the White House to discuss the situation. Another senior official at the meeting, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Martin Dempsey, said the threat was more specific than previous ones and the intent was to attack Western, not just US interests. US officials claim they have intercepted al-Qaeda messages, which they say indicated a plot against a diplomatic compound. Meanwhile, Interpol issued a separate global security alert because of jailbreaks linked to al-Qaeda in 9 countries, including Iraq, Libya and Pakistan. While Western embassies brace themselves for possible terror attacks, India is already dealing with the fallout of a militant strike on one of its diplomatic compounds. At least 9 people were killed when militants attacked the Indian consulate in the eastern Afghan city of Jalalabad. 23 others were wounded. No Indian staff at the consulate were killed. Officials said the attack happened when 2 attackers leapt out of a car and charged at the entrance of the compound, while a third man reportedly detonated explosives.
New U.S. penalties against Iran appear to be a done deal as the country's new president takes over. Hassan Rouhani formally took over as president from Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, promising to end Iran's international isolation. But that may be easier said than done, given 76 U.S. senators are now urging President Obama to impose even more sanctions on Iran over its nuclear program. Just last week, the lower house of Congress overwhelmingly passed new restrictions on Iran's oil sector and its mining and construction industries. The U.S. Senate is expected to endorse this in September.
Australian Prime Minister Kevin Rudd has called a general election for the 7th of September. It comes just weeks after he defeated former Prime Minister Julia Gillard in a Labour Party vote. Rudd and the Labour Party are expected to face tough competition from the Conservative Liberal Party, which has been ahead in the polls. Still, polls also suggest that voters prefer Rudd as a leader rather than Tony Abbott, the head of the Liberal Party. The economy, asylum seekers and climate change are expected to dominate the campaign. Rudd kicked off the election bid today by saying Australia can no longer rely on Chinese demand for iron ore and coal, that only Labour could lead the country in these new and uncertain economic times.
Still ahead in our newscast, Taiwan's president attends a soldier's funeral, a call for measures to help disabled air travelers, and the first talking humanoid robot to go into space. Welcome back. Taiwan's President Ma Ying-jeou attended today's funeral of a 24-year-old soldier who died after being punished for bringing a cell phone onto his military base. While Ma has promised a full investigation, Taiwan's defense minister has taken responsibility and stepped down. But angry protesters outside the funeral believe the president should take the fall. Protesters in Taiwan gathered outside the funeral home in Taichung County, shouting for President Ma Ying-jeou to step down the moment he arrived. Joining the president as he paid homage to Army Corporal Hung Chung-choi were Defense Minister Andrew Yang and Yang's predecessor, Cao Hua-chun, who stepped down over the case. While conveying his condolences, Ma apologized to the victims' parents and vowed that justice will come to those responsible for their son's death. Hung's father urged the president to ensure the truth is revealed and express anger over what many view as a sloppy military investigation. The death investigation has so far determined that after returning from a visit home, Corporal Hung was carrying a forbidden camera phone. The university graduate was punished to several days of confinement and forced to perform push-ups, sit-ups, and other exercises in the sweltering heat. When asked for water, he was denied. Upon returning to his holding cell on July 4th, Hung died from an attack of heat stroke. Sadly, he was just 3 days shy of completing his 20-month military service obligation. So far, 18 Army officers and non-commissioned officers have been charged in connection with the case that has enraged the masses. Over 200,000 people last night packed the front of the presidential office to bid farewell to Corporal Hung, but police put the number at 100,000. While the angry masses repeated their demands for truth and justice, Hung's mother pleaded for them to let go of their hatred, to bid her son a peaceful farewell. Protest organizer Citizen 1985 issued several demands at the rally, and the government responded favorably. It promised to set up a special committee to reinvestigate the case. It also vowed to switch the military prosecution of special cases like this to a civilian judicial system in future. It also said it would review the military's disciplinary regulations to prevent tragedies like this from happening again. Those accused of causing Hung's death are charged with offenses against individual freedom and ordering punishments harsher than stipulated by law.
And a Hong Kong resident died yesterday at a beach in southern Taiwan after being swept away by huge waves. The 23-year-old man, surnamed Leung, was among the swimmers at Nan Wan Beach in Kunting yesterday afternoon. The red flag warning swimmers that the waters were not safe to swim in was raised at the time of the incident, but the swimmers didn't heed the warning and more than 10 of them were swept away by the waves. The Hong Kong tourist was later taken ashore by rescue workers but was pronounced dead at the hospital. Another swimmer rescued from the water was unconscious and 7 others were slightly injured. Japanese and Chinese Coast Guard vessels confronted each other yesterday in waters near the disputed Jiaoyu Islands. This as a mainland seafarer who became the first Chinese to circumnavigate the globe solo in a non-powered sailboat in 2007 took his vessel to the disputed waters. Jaimo posted the pictures on the internet showing his voyage from Shandong province to the Jiaoyu Islands. He said he arrived at the vicinity of the Jiaoyus yesterday afternoon and then sailed to within 3 nautical miles of the disputed islets at 8 p.m. The pictures show both Japanese and Chinese Coast Guard vessels around his boat. Kyodo News Agency said the Japanese Coast Guard gave warnings to Chinese vessels, telling them to go away, but the report did not mention any sailboat in the area. Well, mainland authorities have banned imports of milk powder from New Zealand after a dairy exporter found that some of their products were contaminated with the deadly strain of bacteria. In Hong Kong, the health chief reassured the public that this product is not available in the territory. Fonterra announced yesterday that a range of products, including baby milk formula, contain a bacteria that can cause botulism, a potentially fatal disease which affects the muscles and can cause respiratory problems. As a result, the mainland has recalled all affected products. This is not the first dairy contamination issue involving the New Zealand company. In January, Fonterra found a potentially toxic chemical in some of its products.
There were calls today to make it easier for disabled travelers to fly. This comes after a survey showed that many airlines don't have the facilities to cater to this particular group of people. More from Stephanie Choi.
Many of us often complain about air travel, whether it be the seats, the food, or the service. But for many handicapable passengers, they might not even have the convenience of choosing their meals, relieving themselves, or simply getting on the plane. Narrow aisles, tiny lavatories, and untrained staff are among a long list of considerations for disabled passengers hoping to fly. Leo was one of them. He lost the use of his legs after a serious illness. On a long-haul flight to Toronto, he had to rely on a blanket to protect his privacy while he relieved himself in a lavatory cubicle that was too tiny for the door to close after accommodating his onboard wheelchair. Leo's story is a result of the neglect towards the needs of disabled individuals, and he is not alone. According to a survey by the Rehabilitation Alliance Hong Kong, easy access lavatories are seldom available on planes, as are borrowed wheelchairs and priority seating. Even if those were available, the survey respondents felt that crew members are too ill-equipped to cater to their needs. Of the 48 airlines the Alliance contacted to inquire about their accessibility, only 2 returned their questionnaires. The Alliance believes that this reflects the company's neglect towards the needs of handicapable individuals. Joseph Kwan of Rehabilitation International says the Equal Opportunities Commission and Disability Discrimination Act are not sufficient to safeguard the needs of disabled persons.
Independence is traveling with dignity. That's our purpose, and the government should encourage it.
The Alliance is appealing to the Airport Authority to regularly consult handicapable representatives on their needs and take follow-up measures. They would also like airlines to train staff to better assist handicapable passengers. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
All right, Tony, what do you have for us on this special day?
Well, we've got football to start with and then some cricket as well. Update on England versus Australia. But first, football, and Real Madrid defeated Everton 2-1 at the International Champions Cup in the United States. The win sets up a possible showdown with Chelsea and former Madrid manager Jose Mourinho. Here's Jameson Wong.
C-Ron looks like he's ready for the season to start right now. He had a part in both Real Madrid goals against Everton at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. First rounding the keeper in the 17th minute after a great pass from Mesut Ozil. Then it was Ronaldo setting up Ozil at the half-hour mark. The Toffees got one back in the second half on a Nikita Jelavic strike. 2-1 the final, Los Blancos into the finals to play either Chelsea or AC Milan. In the night's other match, the LA Galaxy surprised Italian champs Juventus 3-1. Landon Donovan and Robbie Keane among the goal scorers. The MLS club will play in the third-place match. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
Cricket, and at the Ashes, England fought back on the third day of the third test. Kevin Peterson's 113 lifted the hosts to 294 for 7 and within 34 runs of avoiding the follow-on. It was Peterson's 23rd test century. The 33-year-old became England's all-time leading run scorer in all forms of international cricket with 13,224 runs. Australia need to win at Old Trafford after losing the first 2 tests in the best-of-5 series. Basketball now, and Kobe Bryant says his recovery from an Achilles tendon injury suffered last season is going much better than expected. The NBA star was in Hong Kong yesterday and he talked with TVB.
I've recovered much faster than I anticipated. We've all been pleasantly surprised by it. I'm feeling fine. I'm walking just fine. And, next month, actually this month, middle of this month, I'll start doing a little bit more. Start maybe running a little bit more.
So do you think you can play at the first game of the upcoming season?
I don't know. I mean, I want to rule it out. I mean, the thing is that I've never had this injury before, so I don't know what the timetables are. And then for players who've had this injury, the way that we did the surgery was different than anybody else that's done it. So the recovery time is just, there's no precedent for it. So yeah, I don't know.
And finally, the first talking humanoid robot to go into space took off from Japan's Tanegashima Space Center early this morning. In addition to the robot known as Karobo, the Japanese rocket is carrying to the International Space Station tons of supplies and equipment. While conventional robots in space have usually been tasked with maintenance or mechanical operations, Karobo's mission is to be a companion to Japanese astronaut Koichi Wakata. The robot is capable of recognizing human voice and speech. It has pre-programmed responses and actions to questions and is built to be a good listener. Karobo will await Wakata's arrival at the International Space Station, which is due around November. Let's just hope the robot won't be sad without Wakata for a while anyways.
It'll be an early Christmas present for him.
That is true. Thank you so much for watching, and good evening, everyone.
Good night.
Good evening. It was sunny and hot today. At 5 p.m., a ridge of high pressure brought generally fine weather to southern China. Today's temperatures ranged from 27.1 to 32.9 degrees, and the relative humidity was between 68 to 89%. Winds were light to moderate southerlies. The current temperature is now standing at 29.8 degrees Celsius, and the relative humidity is 73%. A trace of rain has been recorded since midnight. So Freddie, how's the weather tomorrow?
Oh.
It'll be fine and very hot tomorrow. Temperatures will range from 28 to 33 degrees. It will be mainly fine with a few showers in the following few days. Tomorrow's API is forecast at 15 to 80, and the air pollution level will range from low to high. The maximum UV index forecast for tomorrow will be about 13. And now to the latest global weather update. Cloudy in Shanghai, Taipei, and Xiamen. Sunny in Guangzhou, bright in Macau, cloudy in Chengdu. Sunny in Beijing, rain in Seoul, cloudy in Tokyo. Thunderstorms in Bangkok, rain in Ho Chi Minh City and Manila. Showers in Kuala Lumpur and Jakarta, thunderstorms in Singapore. Thunderstorms in New Delhi, showers in Karachi and Mumbai. Sunny in Cairo, showers in Nairobi. Sunny in Brisbane and Sydney, showers in Melbourne and Auckland. Sunny in Toronto and New York. Sunny in Vancouver, bright in San Francisco and Los Angeles. And there's showers in London, thunderstorms in Paris and Amsterdam, bright in Frankfurt, sunny in Zurich. And that's weather. Good night.